This is Sky News at 12, our top stories. 6 people have been killed and another critically injured as a car crash closes major roads in Birmingham. I will not be derailed, a defiant Theresa May on how she's proving Brexit doubters wrong. An Australian man is charged with allegedly trying to buy ballistic missile parts for North Korea. From piggy bank to pension, new plans to get workers saving younger. London's underground bomb shelters remembered 74 years on from the Bethnal Green tube disaster. With Eli speaking to relatives and the 102-year-old doctor who lived through it. And in sport, England's batsmen are struggling, but could the weather come to their rescue? Very good morning to you. 6 people have been killed and another is critically injured following a major crash in Birmingham. 3 vehicles were involved in the collision in the early hours of this morning on Lee Bank Middleway near Edgbaston, which police say will be closed for the rest of the day. Detectives have described the incident as very difficult and upsetting. Sky's Fraser Maud has this update from the scene.
The incident happened just after 1 o'clock this morning on this road, which Lee Bank Middleway, which comes underneath the A38, one of the main routes into Birmingham, and here for much of the day trying to put together exactly what happened here at 1 o'clock this morning.
Fraser Maud reporting there in Birmingham. Now, Theresa May says she's proved her doubters wrong after securing a deal in the first phase of Brexit negotiations and that her government is getting on with the job in hand. We're writing in the Sunday Express. She hit back at her critics, saying, "I will not be derailed from my duty to deliver your democratic decision. Amid all the noise, this government is getting on with the job." Let's go live now to our political correspondent Tom Rayner, who's in Westminster. And Tom, a pretty defiant message given all the backlash he's had over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty determined effort to try and draw a line under those last few weeks, and how that would sit with the Labour voters who voted to leave the EU, perhaps on immigration issues, is a debate that's going to continue.
OK, Tom, thank you. An Australian man has been charged as an agent for North Korea, allegedly attempting to broker sales worth tens of millions of dollars for parts that could be used in ballistic missiles. Police say the South Korean-born man used encrypted communication to discuss the supply of weapons of mass destruction. Sky's Enda Brady has this report.
Australian police say they've never seen a case like this before. They arrested. No weapons or missile components got into Australia. Enda Brady, Sky News.
2 police officers in northwest London have been seriously injured when they were hit by a car in northwest London. The officers were walking back to their vehicle when they were hit near Brent Park in Neasden in the early hours of this morning. The driver of the car has now been detained. South Africa's ANC party is set to vote in a new leader today. The winner will take over as party leader from President Jacob Zuma and is likely to become the country's next leader. The African National Congress has been in power since South Africa transitioned to democracy under Nelson Mandela. 2 suicide bombers have attacked a church in the city of Quetta in southwestern Pakistan, killing 8 people and injuring 16. Authorities say it happened as hundreds of worshippers were attending services. One attacker was killed at the entrance to the building, while the other made it inside. 26 people have been killed by landslides triggered by a tropical storm in the Philippines. A further 23 are also missing following the landslides on the island province of Biliran to the east of the country. Tropical storm Kai-Tak has damaged power lines, roads and bridges and forced over 87,000 people from their homes. Amazon is being investigated by the advertising watchdog over complaints it's failing to deliver on time in the run-up to Christmas. Customers say they've been misled into signing up to its premium service, which costs £79 a year. Amazon Prime promises to deliver within 2 days, but some customers say it's taking twice as long for parcels to arrive. Now, the age you can begin saving into a workplace pension is to be lowered under government plans. Employers will have to enrol staff aged 18 and over into a workplace pension unless they opt out. Ministers want to reduce the age from 22 by 2020, with 900,000 more people enrolled into the scheme, but it could mean extra costs for employers. Well, currently the total minimum contribution is set at 2%. That's 0.8 8% from the worker and 1% from the employer, with 0.2% as tax relief from the government. But from April 2019, it'll rise to 8% of earnings, with 4% from the individual, 3% from the employer and 1% as tax relief. Well, the Work and Pensions Secretary David Gauke told the BBC's Andrew Marr why the plans are being brought in.
I think will get more people into the habit of saving. It will mean that younger people will be saving for those extra years, so that obviously is significant when it comes to their retirement. And so extending the benefit of auto-enrolment, which I think everybody agrees has been a huge success, is a really important next step.
The Sky's Laura Bundock joins us now, and I suppose there's been a mixed reaction to this, especially if it's going to cost employers a lot more.
Yeah, there has. It depends who you speak to, but I think it's been broadly welcomed. I guess the problem here is that a lot of 18-year-olds aren't really worrying about their pension. So there is a hope that this will kickstart better saving habits from an earlier age, because the reality is we're simply not putting aside enough at the moment for our pensions. Now, the auto-enrolment scheme came into force in 2012. It has been deemed a success. It basically means that anyone who's working will be automatically put into a pension scheme. Both the employer and the government contribute to it. It's only available at the moment for people over 21 earning more than £10,000 a year. So this whole review of the plan is looking at that. It's saying we should reduce the minimum age down to 18. And if you earn less than £10,000, well, you can ask your employer to sign you up. And that should help benefit an extra 900,000 people. Baroness Altman, who's a pension expert, says, it's a long overdue. We should have done this at the first place. But she does say it's good news and it should encourage more people to get started with their pension plan. Here's what she said earlier.
I would like to see young people in there now. I wish they had been in there right from the start. It would have been very sensible. But having not had that, we've still got contributions between now and 2019 set to quadruple. So that is going to be an extra burden on businesses. We've also got an opportunity for the pensions industry itself to reach out to young people and try and encourage them into pensions.
The bottom line is that we have 12 million people who are undersaving for retirement. That's 38% of the working age population. There is an issue. The Federation of Small Businesses say, well, by looking at this, it will cost businesses more, and that could have a negative impact on certain industries. Also, by increasing contribution rates, there's a fear it might encourage people to start opting out of the scheme, although the opt-out rates have been a lot lower than people thought, particularly among younger people. The idea is, though, that these changes will mean that people have more money when they come to retire, and that they might even be able to pick and choose when they retire as opposed to being forced to retire much later. But they're not coming in until the mid-2020s, and some are saying, it's going to leave a whole generation of young people left behind.
Indeed. OK, Laura, thanks very much. Now a memorial is being unveiled in East London, marking one of the worst tragedies of the Blitz. 173 people were crushed to death as they tried to find shelter in Bethnal Green Tube Station. The wartime government kept details of the incident a secret to prevent damage to national morale. But today a doctor who was on duty at the time will be among those remembering the victims. Well, Sky's reporter Caterina Vitozzi is there for us now, and I suppose because this was forced to be made a secret at the time, very fitting now that the memorial is being unveiled.
Absolutely, it's been a very emotional unveiling of this stunning memorial, which you can see behind me, made out of teak wood and concrete, and lies back in 1943.
OK, Caterina, thank you. You're watching Sky News. Coming up, I'll be speaking to Liam Allen, the student falsely accused of rape, whose trial collapsed this week after it emerged crucial evidence wasn't released to legal teams.
Online now.
Welcome back. You're watching Sky News. Let's find out now what's coming up in the sport.
Thanks very much, Rebecca. Coming up in the sport at 1:45, we'll show you. Plus, Pep Guardiola tells us which one of his stars might be the best in the world right now. Join us in around 20 minutes or so.
OK, look forward to it. Thanks very much, Jamie. Now, a student who was falsely accused of rape is considering suing the police and the Crown Prosecution Service after his trial collapsed. The Metropolitan Police is holding an urgent review after a detective failed to hand over text messages on his accuser's phone that undermined her case. The case against Liam Allen took 2 years to come to court, and I'm very pleased to say he joins me now. First of all, what has the last 2 years been like for you?
hell, but it's impossible to put into words. I mean, you don't really anticipate anything like that happening to yourself. I mean, you hear about it quite a bit in terms of famous people and things like that, but you don't really anticipate for yourself how that's going to be. But it's trying to live normally knowing it's not normal, sort of thing. It's pretending something's not there when you know it's always there, sort of thing.
And I was reading at one point you were told that it was unlikely that charges were going to be brought, but then they were.
Yeah, I was in constant contact to try and sort of find out what the decision was. I mean, you left in limbo where there's no contact really, you're the one chasing it up. And I mean, I think there was about 7 months where there was no real contact other than me calling. And then it was 2 hours before I got the call to say I was charged. I was told, you know, it's unlikely that you'd be charged. I mean, it had been told even when I was arrested and interviewed. After the interview, I was even told, you know, it's unlikely to go anywhere because it's just word against word. But yeah, obviously 2 hours later you get a call saying you're charged. You can't imagine. Sort of you have all this hope and then it's just ripped away straight away.
And your face has been all over the media and lots of the papers.
It has.
How do you think that's going to impact on you? Negatively or?
I mean, I've received a huge amount of support. I couldn't even put it into words how grateful I am, obviously, for the messages. I've made a point of replying to everyone who's messaged me on Facebook, whether it's just to say thank you, whether they're reporters or whether they're MPs or there's all sorts of people. But a lot of people have told me their stories of what they've been through, whether it's retrospective or currently going through. And yeah, you can't really go back to the life that you had now because you're now, you know, representing those people.
Will you try and fight for other people now?
I now have the opportunity to give them a voice, and as much as I'd love to sort of run away and, you know, hide and go back to what I was doing before, which is just living a normal life, helping people on a smaller scale, yeah, I couldn't walk away from those people. I know what it's like to have felt alone through the process, and, you know, those people have been alone, and they want the opportunity to make a difference. Whether that's through me, I'm not sure because I don't know what's going to happen in the near future, but I am taking the next steps to sort of make sure that I am speaking out for those people, and things like this obviously do help them have a voice in terms of that.
And you study criminology. Do you think you'll still pursue that then in the future?
Yeah, oddly enough, it's made me more motivated to make a difference rather than, you know, slate everything. I mean, there's not any individuals in particular that are responsible for this. It is a whole system sort of failure, and it is something that needs to be looked at on a much broader scale rather than just looking at the individuals in my case specifically, because it's happening everywhere. I mean, it's been reported that it's happening in all different sorts of places, but it's not just letting obviously falsely accused people let down, it's letting real victims down, because, you know, if the evidence is there and it's not looked at, then their case gets thrown out for the wrong reasons. That suspect the perpetrator isn't actually caught. You know, they're free to walk free and the victim's left with the real trauma. And the same vice versa. If you're falsely accused, they have their own trauma of, you know, they've gone through that, but if the evidence was there, it could have all been avoided.
And I suppose for families as well, because it must have put your family under an awful lot of pressure.
It has a huge ripple effect. You know, I'm not from a huge family. It's my mum, my great aunt, a few distant cousins that I speak to every now and again, and an uncle who I rarely speak to at the moment. But I've had the luxury of being able to have friends as family, you know, where I'm not from a big family. I get to choose who I want as family, sort of thing. So I've got people that I consider brothers, sisters, who have stood by me through this hand in hand from the day that I was arrested till, obviously even now, they're still sort of here with me, you know, making sure that I'm okay, they're looking after me, making sure that I'm looking after myself. You know, it's not all getting on top of me, so.
Yeah. Do you think in rape cases, until people are proved that they are guilty, should they be given anonymity?
I think it would be fair. I think every individual in the case should be given anonymity, even afterwards, unless they said that they want to go public. Obviously, I didn't really have a huge option in terms of my name being spoken about. But yeah, 100%, because you can't judge people's reactions, you can't predict people's reactions, so you can't stop that. And then you also can't stop if people are going to, you know, want to cause harm to you if they join in, you know.
And how about the CPS and the police now? Are you going to take action against them?
As far as I'm aware, that's the plan. Obviously, I don't really want to be their enemy in terms of that, because I'm not here to be vengeful. That's not the aim at all. And
do you feel angry towards them?
I think it's past the point of anger. You know, it's disappointment. I think it's probably the best way to sum it up. The very thing that I'm studying to go into is the very thing, you know, that sort of let me down in terms of that. But I'd love to, obviously, I feel like when there's solutions and stuff being spoken about in terms of internal investigations, you know, no one's really speaking about to the people who have been through it, who have been let down, whether they're, you know, real victims or falsely accused, because both have to work together. You can't just use falsely accused because obviously I'm in the news at the moment. There are real victims that are let down by the same system. And I've said this time and time again, I'm more than 110% happy to go and speak to those people that obviously want to get that perspective and work with them. 100%, it wouldn't bother me at all.
Indeed. Well, the police obviously can't comment because this investigation is ongoing, but thanks ever so much for sharing your story. Appreciate your time. You're watching Sky News. Coming up, police in Birmingham are set to give an update after a major car crash killed 6 people. We'll have the very latest from the scene after the break. You're watching Sky News. The top stories. 6 people have been killed and another is critically injured following a major crash in Birmingham. Police have described the scene as very difficult and upsetting. Theresa May says she's proved the doubters wrong after securing a deal in the first phase of Brexit negotiations. And an Australian man has been charged with being an agent for North Korea and trying to sell weapons of mass destruction. Well, in Birmingham, we are expecting the police to update us on that car crash in which 6 people died in the next few moments or so. Of course, it happened in Edgbaston, which isn't far from the city centre there in Birmingham. We will, of course, bring you the very latest, as you can see, from the scene at that press conference as and when we get it. Now, there are fears from moderate Labour councillors that they're being pushed aside by hardline Jeremy Corbyn supporters. The battle centres on the London borough of Haringey and a controversial scheme aimed at regenerating the area through the privatisation of public buildings. Well, it's leading to deselection of Labour councillors as well as resignations, and it's also seen as a preview of what the future of the party could hold. Our political correspondent Lewis Goodall has this report.
Over the past 2 years, Jeremy Corbyn's foot soldiers, led by a movement called Momentum, have transformed the Labour Party, creating an internal battle between the left and the right, approach to both policy and party. Lewis Goodall, Sky News, North London.
Well, earlier on today, we put the issue raised in our report to senior Labour Party member Barry Gardiner.
They're a group of people who have joined the Labour Party because they're enthused by the manifesto, and that's a very, very good thing. I think it's a very strange day if politicians become afraid of the electorate, afraid of the people. We have very clear processes in the Labour Party. It's called a manifesto. That's what we all sign up to.
Now, a 10-year-old boy has been given the perfect Christmas present after learning that he will be part of a trial for a new bionic hand. Cameron Miller, who's just one of 12 children on the trial, told Sky News he's looking forward to emulating Star Wars character Luke Skywalker. James Matthews has this report.
There you go. Pull the sleeve.
At the age of 10, Cameron Miller has learned to adapt to judo and to life itself. This Christmas, the Force will be with him. James Matthews, Sky News, Edinburgh.
Absolutely lovely. Now you're watching Sky News. Coming up in the sport, we've got all the action from the third test between England and Australia. And we'll also have the build-up to this afternoon's Premier League matches. All that coming up after the break.
Emma Mattress, a Which Best Buy for 2017. Order online now.
Now, these are live pictures from Birmingham. Just a reminder, we will be going there for this press conference in a few moments' time, hopefully after the car crash in which 6 people died. We are due an update from the police, and of course we'll bring you that as and when we get it. Now let's get a check on all the day's sport, shall we?
This programme is brought to you by Vitality Health and Life Insurance. Getting active brings its own rewards.
Batteries must have run out.
Good afternoon. England are on the verge of losing the Ashes. After Sky Sports News for you right now as well. We'll see you in the next hour.
And that's the end of the show. I'm off for a biscuit. Anyone fancy?
Now, as part of Sky's Ocean Rescue campaign, we've been following the crews taking part in the Volvo Ocean Race. The teams are currently on the 3rd leg of the race from Cape Town to Melbourne and in the middle of the Southern Ocean, thousands of miles away from land. This happened to one of the boats. Gosh, so during a change of direction in high winds, the metal runner that holds up the mainsail on the Akzo Nobel boat was ripped out. It meant the team had to stop racing while they tried to fix a problem and slipped 300 miles behind the race leaders. Well, earlier on Sunrise, we spoke to Simon Tinpoint, the skipper of the team.
The current situation for us, it's around 25 to 30 knots, and we stayed with huge waves, but then the sailing and the surfing of the waves had just been 1.5 hours on the helm, and it just never stops. It's like...
Right, we're going to take you live now to Birmingham. Let's listen in.
I'm here with my colleague Michelle Brotherton from West Midlands Ambulance Service.